So this week we're going to be having a look at the process safety roadmap for the incident at Texas City in 2005, which killed 15 people in a massive explosion at the isomerization unit. Now, if you want to know a little bit more about what actually happened on the day of the incident and how the incident came about on that day, I'll put a link to the CSB video below, which is really useful for helping understanding what happened on the day. What I'm going to be talking about today is I'm going to be talking about the things that were happening at site. So basically, the process safety information that the site management had, which could have helped them realize that the incident was going to happen. In the follow-on session, I'll be looking at the information that the site management were receiving from corporate. So you can, and then we'll be putting the two together, and then you can see why there was a misalignment between what corporate was sending and what site management were receiving. And this had a significant impact on the incident, and I'll highlight some of the key decisions which led to the incident. And if they had been reversed, the incident may not have happened. So the first thing that site management had was in 1992, OSHA cited that similar stacks, which were the same arrangement, should be replaced as they were unsafe. Okay, so that was in 1992. We then move on to 1994. And the isomerization unit, which is the unit which ultimately had the incident in 2005, so this is 94, 11 years before, it overfilled as a result of lifting the relief valves, which is identical scenario to what happened in 2005. And there were some leaking incidents, and then there was a further relief valve opening incident, which didn't result in an overfill. So during that year, there were 3 incidents. All of them were precursors or early warning signs to the incident that happened in 2005. And if some attention had been paid to those, then perhaps we could have prevented it. So you could think, well, how could we have identified that? We'll go through that, and I'll highlight a couple of times when we could have. In 95, the ISOM unit had an overfill incident again, so this is a following year, resulting in a massive gas cloud, but fortunately no ignition. In 1996, there was a staffing review which identified that staffing was critically low, right? And so this is from a maintenance perspective and an execution perspective on this refinery. Staffing was identified to be critically low, and that was reported to management. In 1997, interestingly enough, there was a big intervention on the isomerization blowdown system where they replaced the blowdown drum. But during that replacement, they did not take the header piping or the vent piping off to the flare. They simply replaced the drum and then brought it back into service. In 1998, the isomerization unit underwent a Hazop, or a 5-year process hazard analysis update. The near misses that we've mentioned here in 1994 and 1995 were not mentioned in that isomerization Hazop. And if they had been mentioned, that might have been an opportunity for the engineers to identify that this was already a problem and it was already causing incidents, low-grade process safety incidents, and the potential was much higher. Now, only 1 year after the Hazop was completed, we had a isomerization vapor cloud from the blowdown drum overfills again, but this time to a sewer rather than overfilling from the top of the stack, and there was a large cloud. So only 1 year after the Hazop. Then we had a presentation to management which said that process safety findings were not being closed out in a timely manner. So this was in 2001. They were identifying some gaps in their process safety management system. And in that presentation, they said that someone will die on this facility in the next 4 years. Now, interesting, that is just 4 years from when 15 people did lose their lives. In 2003, a maintenance gap was identified, and the 5-yearly review of the Hazop, which 5 years after 1998 was conducted on the ISOM unit. The maintenance review identifies major gaps at Texas City with regards to inspection, with regards to maintenance. And this is linked very closely to the staffing review, which was completed in 1996. So the findings were that they were not being able to complete the maintenance that was required. And one of the contributing factors in the incident was that the level indicator wasn't working on the Isom Blowdown unit. And so therefore they didn't know that there was an overfill incident imminently happening. Again, they had the re-Hazop, and again, the previous incidents were not mentioned in the Hazop, and they were unable to learn from those and make modifications to the drum before an incident, major incident. In 2004, again, the process safety team or the team on site felt very strongly about the performance of the facility, and they presented kind of a historical view, highlighting that there were 23 deaths at the facility in the last 30 years. That is nearly a death a year. Trying to convince management that they needed to change at this facility. So management had obviously listened, or something had initiated, but a company called Telos had been invited to the site in late 2004 to conduct an audit. Actually, the findings from that report are very similar to the findings that were found later by the CSB, associated with the culture and the behavior at the facility. So unfortunately, that was delivered just in Q1 in 2005, and it was at the end of the quarter that the ISOM unit had the overfill and the explosion. If they had initiated that earlier, they may have had a chance to act on it. And then also the business plan. So this is the plan which gets communicated up to corporate. It actually states that someone will die in the next 18 months. So the team on site were crying out in the last 2 years to senior management to say, look, we really need help. We have a problem here with our process safety performance. Please help us. All right, so if you enjoyed this part of the presentation, join me for the next session. I'm going to go through what actually was coming down from corporate and why you can see that the team were just crying out for help, why they felt they had to cry out for help in this way, putting the statement in the business plan. So we'll have a look at that next time. If you enjoyed this session, don't forget to subscribe, and then you won't miss the second video on Texas City Process Safety Roadmap.